Was the parking lot that do you know whether the parking lot that you constructed and it was available and for cars parked there on the May 25th of this year, is that correct?
Yep.
Do you know whether that parking lot was full or not?
I believe it was.
No empty spaces in that parking lot.
It's hard to say. Throughout the day, cars came and went. It could have been full at one time. There could have been one or two spaces at other times. It's hard to know.
Did you ever walk out and look on May 25th during that wedding to see if cars were parking within the easement?
Honestly, I don't remember if we did that on that day or not.
When you say we, who do you mean by we?
The owners of Barron Hall, Jacob and myself.
Did you take any actions on May 25th to prevent cars from parking within the easement?
We always do that.
On that day, May 25th, did you take any actions to make sure cars were not parking within the easement?
We do that every time there's anything happening on the property.
What actions do you take?
We ask people to move the cars.
But yet you testified you don't recall going out there and looking at all on May 25th.
It's hard to recall. It could have been me, it could have been somebody else on the property. It's hard to say who would have done that.
But you're not aware of anybody doing that.
It could have happened. It's hard to know whether that happened or not.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
You said it was a wedding on May 25th. Was that did someone pay you to host their wedding there?
No.
Who were the guests? Who were the parties?
They were friends and family of ours.
So did you charge them anything to host the wedding there?
No.
Was it an event?
No, it was not.
Was it an event associated with Barron Hall, the business?
It was not.
So it was a private party hosted on your own property?
That's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
How many spaces are in the parking lot?
I think on record or on the actual plans, I think it's 40 total.
Do you have other parking inside the easement?
Yeah, we allow people to park in the driveway by the house if overflow is needed. We can probably fit another 20 to 25 cars over there if needed.
Are there signs posted on the fence or out there that say no parking?
So not yet. We have applications submitted to the township for a sign. We just went through that process with Safe Build and the sign was denied.
So you've asked for permission to put a no parking in the easement, but you weren't able to get permission to put up a sign.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I ask a question on that? Because I believe that testimony is inaccurate.
Yeah, I raised it. You can inquire.
Mr. Gray, isn't it true that the sign that just got denied was not a no parking sign? Is that correct?
It was a sign that said guest parking with an arrow that pointed to the parking lot.
So that's a directional sign.
It is.
Doesn't say no parking on it anywhere.
Based on my understanding from Safe Build, we are not required to have those signs.
What signs?
No parking or directional signs whatsoever.
Okay.
It's not required.
Has Mr. Klein suggested to you to install no parking signs?
It has been suggested that we put signs up, and the first sign that we submitted for approval was the directional sign. And again, it was denied.
But you would agree that a directional guest parking with an arrow is not the same as a no parking sign.
That's correct.
So you didn't ever go to the hardware store and just get some no parking signs and put them on the fence?
It's our understanding that that is not allowed.
Okay,
We would need approval from the planning commission and from Safe Build for signage due to zoning requirements for the number of signs, square footage of signs, et cetera.
all right, we'll find out more about that. Do you discourage people from parking in the easement?
We do. And since the new parking lot has gone in, whenever we have an event, we have one of our employees out on Timber Run Road to ensure people are not parking there. In some cases, somebody might pull in, and we would ask them to move their car to the parking lot, and they would.
All right. Does that raise questions for anyone else?
It does not.
I do have one more follow-up for Mr. Gray.
Yes.
Ms. Strong asked you about, and I believe your testimony was you did not charge. I missed the name of the wedding party, I guess, that was on May 25th.
Is that relevant, Your Honor?
No, it's not.
But I would argue it is, Your Honor. He's contesting it wasn't.
So she's doing the
a
same
paid
thing you're
event.
doing. She's fighting a different battle other than this parking battle. The fact whether this was an event or a private matter for the owners isn't relevant to this ticket. There was no objection, and I didn't object. I didn't know where it was going. But who the wedding party was is not relevant to this ticket that's issued here. Just isn't. The fact now you can inquire as to whether it was private or a public event, but because she opened the door. But
I would ask one more question then and see if it elicits an objection and a ruling from the court. Was the event that was there, whether we call it an event or an occasion or whatever we call it, related to an employee of Fahrenheit?
I would object. I don't think that's relevant.
I guess I'll sustain the objection. We may be fighting some other battles in the future that may be relevant to that, but.
Your Honor, I would argue that the relevancy is that they're trying to imply that these cars may not have been there for Farron Hall.
Oh. They're there for Farron Hall. The car with a truck with a trailer, it's too big to fit in the parking lot, so they parked there. Who knows what was in it? But the burden of proof here is by a preponderance, not reasonable doubt. And so my opinion is these vehicles were here for Farron Hall, whether it was a public or private event. So you've already met that burden.
With that finding, Your Honor, I'm fine.
All right. All right, you may step down. Thank you.
I do not have anything further.
All right. Let's look at Exhibit 9. Special land use permit, amended 10/21/24. I have to scroll to it. That's way down here. Permit for special land use, Township Planning Commission. 10/14/2024. Date 10/21/24. Owners were granted a special land use permit on 3/12/18 to operate a bed and a banquet facility / bed and breakfast. Owners filed an application to amend dated 6/12/24. Actions of Planning Commission on 10/14. 1. Regarding the request to amend the permit to reflect existing 32 by 32 white barn outbuilding is being used as part of the banquet facility, the request is approved. That building looks like it's 100 years old, but it's new. 2. Regarding the request to amend the permit to reflect that the existing 30 by 62 black barn outbuilding is being used as a kitchen and eating area as part of the banquet facility. The request is approved. That's the main kitchen and dining area of the facility. Number 3, regarding the request to amend the permit to allow parking along Timber Run Trail, the request is denied. 4, request regarding amend to permit the increase of employees from 8 to 15. The request is approved, subject to the terms and conditions of number 2. I'm not really sure what that's about. Regarding the request to amend the permit to allow a 20 by 27 addition to be added on the 30 by 62 black outbuilding is approved. So everything was approved except their request to allow parking on Timber Trail Road. Then it goes further in the special use. Again, I'm not sure what all this is about. It sort of limits their ability to operate, but let's go to the parking. No more than 80 guests on the property at a time. Parking. All parking must be within boundaries of the premises. However, there shall be no parking within the road right-of-way for Farron Road or within the easement on Timber Run Trail. Any parking area consisting of grass shall be regularly mowed to help avoid grass fires. So they can't park there, but they're required to mow the easement.
That's not what it says, no.
Well, all right, regularly mowed, shall be regularly mowed. Outside music volume down by 10. All guests shall be gone by midnight. But importantly, no parking on Timber Run Trail. And Jacob Hagan signed it, James Gray signed it, the chairperson of the committee, Virginia Traddle, signed it. So they signed the special use permit. The township did allow them to put up some additional buildings and do some other things and some other limitations which don't really go to parking, but it's clear that the permit did not allow parking in this easement. All right, plaintiff is arrested. Ms. Strong, do you wish to present any evidence?
No, Your Honor.
All right, argument.
Your Honor, part of zoning, and it's in the state statutes that authorizes Colon Township to have a zoning ordinance in place, is one of the things the township has to do, and the burden mostly falls on the Township Planning Commission, is to balance the interests of property owners. Not only the property owner requesting something on their property, but adjoining property owners and essentially anybody with property within the township. There are two types of uses allowed, permitted uses that you can just do because the zoning ordinance allows it, it's permitted use, and special land uses, which aren't just permitted, but you have to get a special use permit to do it. And the statutes clearly allow, the state statutes clearly allow planning commissions to impose conditions and limitations on special land uses because they're not a permitted use. They're something outside the ordinary for that district. In this case, it's an agricultural district. And it's the type of use that has potential for adversely affecting the neighbors or the public at large. And so the conditions and limitations Your Honor sees, and yes, there is a lot of history here. And
Well, and again, there's much under the surface other than this ticket. But all that's here is the ticket. Those restrictions just made it appear to me that's going to be very difficult to run a profitable enterprise in this location with those restrictions. But they're in there and I don't have to deal with them, at least not in this hearing.
so, Your Honor, and I understand, you get it. But those restrictions and conditions were imposed by the Planning Commission and agreed to by the defendants who were at the time represented by Ms. Strong, that this special land use permit was granted and signed and agreed to. And they got things out of this too. They got an expansion and other things. So the township has to look out for everybody's interests. I'm not here representing the particular neighbors. I'm here representing the entire township and the public interest, which does include the adjoining neighbors, which the township has an obligation and duty to look out for. And to enforce what the agreed upon terms were. So the township cannot authorize parking within the road right of way. It cannot authorize parking within a private easement. I've given that legal opinion to the township, and therefore why that limitation and condition is in there.
Yeah, let's restate that. The township doesn't have the authority to give parking permission to this organization within that easement. The easement belongs to the people on Timber Trail Road.
Correct.
I suppose Timber Trail Road could grant permission, and if the township allowed it, then, but nobody drives up and down Timber Trail Road except the people that go to Fair and Hall and the few families that live there. It's a dead end dirt road that doesn't go anywhere and is maybe the FedEx guy and I'm not even sure he drives down there. The mailman doesn't. But you're right. The township doesn't have the authority to grant permission to park in that location.
I agree. And the other issue, Your Honor, I'll just raise is it's a safety issue. Parking within road right of ways for a business. When we grant a special land use, as the township does, this is not the only time we've had in a special land use permit a condition that you cannot be parking within the road right of way for your business. Again, it's a safety, it's a public safety issue that the township weighs and the planning commissioners weigh when they're setting the terms of these permits. That's all I have.
All right. Ms. Strong.
The township does have a request for restitution too, if Your Honor finds them responsible.
Yes. All right.
Your Honor, the conversation that the township cannot authorize parking within a private easement, why can they restrict it? They're all private landowners. The cause of action is between the neighbors to restrict or change or modify the easement. It's property owned by my clients. They are using it for a business interest, and they have tried and tried and tried to work with the township regarding the special land use permit, which initially was very free and allowed them to operate in the way that they were operating. They subsequently, as we heard from testimony, had buildings approved by Safe Build, the testified to agent of the property, that were later approved in the amended special land use permit. But all of these restrictions were imposed to limit their ability to conduct their business. They have funneled millions of dollars into this property in improvements and parking and trying to build Fair and Hall and trying to build something that is bringing both revenue streams, jobs, attention to St. Joseph County. They have put down roots here and made a life. And at every point, the township has restricted that. At some point, enough is enough. Do they have to move? Do they have to put their property up for sale and move it to a different county and take away that revenue stream from St. Joseph County and pull up those roots and lose that economic impact? Is that what we're doing here? This is not about parking. This
Well,
is about prejudice.
it's not about, this is about parking, but it's not about parking.
All right, let's talk about that. This hearing played out like a classic zoning tug-of-war, with Judge Middleton steering the ship through a surprisingly dense thicket of parking lot logistics, wedding guest lists, and township permit fine print. The dispute boiled down to whether vehicles were allowed to park in a certain easement during a May 25th wedding at the defendant's property known as Town Hall. Judge Middleton kept the focus sharp. Was this an event tied to the business or a private gathering? And reminded counsel that the only thing on trial here was the parking violation, not every past grievance between the parties. The township, represented with measured persistence, leaned heavily on the special land use permit terms, which explicitly prohibit parking within the easement on Timber Run Trail. They framed the restriction as both a legal necessity and a public safety measure, noting that even if the township wanted to allow it, they lacked authority over a private easement. The defense countered with a broader narrative, painting their clients as local business owners who have invested heavily in the property, created jobs, and contributed to the county's economy, only to face what they see as ever-tightening restrictions from the township. There was some spirited back and forth over whether signage or the lack thereof was relevant, with testimony revealing that the first proposed sign was a guest parking directional, not a no parking warning, and that township rules made spontaneous hardware store signage a no. Judge Middleton showed patience with both sides, letting them make their cases but keeping things from spiraling into unrelated battles. Even stepping in when questioning drifted into wedding guest identities. The atmosphere was steady, not heated, but with undercurrents of a long-running feud that might spill into future hearings. Witnesses spoke plainly, though memory lapses about who monitored the parking on the wedding day left some gaps. Overall, this was a procedural, detail-heavy hearing where the entertainment came not from outbursts, but from the sheer specificity of the arguments right, down to the square footage of signs and how many cars can squeeze into the driveway. Judge Middleton handled it with a balance of legal precision and small-town practicality, making clear that the permit's parking restrictions were not suggestions but enforceable conditions. If you found this hearing insightful, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and letting me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one.